Hello and welcome to the second video tutorial in working with the new and improved 2D radar builder. Now in this video I'll be going about showing you how to create blips for your 2D radar. Now we're now in the blips area, and in this area is where we go about designing our blips. Now in this area you'll see by default we have player is inactive. Now this is our center object, or whatever will appear at the center of our radar. If no object with the particular tag is found, then your center object by default will become the radar itself. Now, to set this up, if you want it to be a sprite, you simply define whatever you want your sprite to be. Next, you define what you want your material to be, what material you want the sprite to be rendered with, and then you choose a color for your sprite blip. If you want the blip to be a prefab, then you simply drag and drop your prefab here and set this to be prefab instead of sprite. And then you go ahead and set this to active, but we'll just leave these as they are since we will not have any center objects in our radar. And of course you need to have it on the correct layer so that it's rendered by the rendering camera. So we'll do the similar thing for the other blip types. That's everything else, every other blip that's going to be rendered in the radar itself. So we're just going to increase the number of blip types to 1 and hit enter. Now we're just going to open this up and follow along with this. So its onTag is now active as a sprite with tag live on layer radar UI. So what this means is that our blip is going to be active in the scene as a sprite, and it's going to be tracking every object that has the tag alive, and it's going to render that sprite on the layer radar UI. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and set this up. So we're going to select sprite, we're going to select this sprite, we're going to select the material, the UI material, then we're going to give it a color, which is a bluish color. Great. And then we're going to set some additional values here. I'm going to quickly describe what each of them are. So we're going to turn on always show life in radar. Now what that means is that the blip will always remain within the bounds of the radar here. Now additionally, what happens when this function is turned on is that the blip will scale down once it passes the bounds of the radar. So we're going to set our blip size to 0.1, and then we're going to turn on track rotation. Now what track rotation does is going to take the Y rotation of our object in the scene and translate that into the Z rotation of the blip, so that you can see the blip rotating in screen space. So now what we're going to want to do here is that we can simply go ahead and run the scene now, but if you do not want your blip to scale down once it passes the bounds of the radar, you can go ahead and turn on scale by distance and set the minimum value and maximum value both to be 0.1 so that it doesn't scale. Great, so now we can go ahead and just run the scene here, and as I had mentioned in the previous video, I'm going to change this value at runtime so that you can see the effects of the scene scale. Okay, so as you can see, we have our blips acting the way they should in the radar, but now let's manipulate the scene scale value some more. Let's shrink it down. Let's carry it way down. As you can see, our blips now shrink. So they pass the bounds of the radar and they're traveling further out. So if we're only looking at, let's say, we're only looking at 5 units of space. So this is, you can pretend as if this is you're looking down on the scene and zooming on the scene. So if you zoom in and you're only looking at 9.5 units of space, then the blips or the objects in the scene here will be traveling way outside of the bounds of that space. So they'll be scaled down more drastically. Now if we increase that to say 100, you notice that we've zoomed out, so now we're seeing more objects. So that's basically how the scene scale works here. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video when we go over advanced rotation and positioning settings for your 2D radar builder.